Now, the city of White Plains is facing a $21 million lawsuit. Kenneth Chamberlain, Sr., he was killed by police when he was in his apartment back in 2011, and they were responding to a medical alert call. Police say he was killed when he charged at an officer and had a knife. Family's lawyers say that he was lying on the ground when they shot him, and none of the officers have been charged. Now, Mayo, you're one of the attorneys representing the family. Has this case had its day as it relates to the criminal side of it? We're now purely on the civil side.
There was a grand jury convened in the criminal matter, and there was no true bill, so no indictment there. One of the issues that we always had with that was we don't know what information was presented. We never were able to determine what charges the grand jury was given to consider, whether they were able to consider hate crimes, because there's audio that shows the police are calling Mr. Chamberlain the N-word and cursing at him and taunting him in his apartment. There's audio that has the Life Aid company calling police and saying they didn't need any assistance and he was fine. And it was a medical call, so they weren't responding to any crimes. So that's one of the reasons that we have been looking for independent prosecutors in all cases that involve police, possible police misconduct or police use of force, and certainly police deadly use of force. There is still a federal investigation criminally regarding the matter, and there's a possibility of civil rights violations, and then there's the civil rights lawsuit which is filed, which we were in court for yesterday.
$21 million. Give an idea how that number is arrived at.
$21 million is arrived. We basically reached that number based upon the pain and the suffering, the terror that Mr. Chamberlain went through. There's almost an hour and a half of audio recording and video recording for about 20 minutes, I would say. And it goes to the course of conduct that we believe the police engaged in, breach of protocol, failure to follow police rules and regulations, and the fact that, again, it's a medical call. It's not a situation where you arguably believed he was doing something wrong, like with Mr. Garner, where even if it was selling cigarettes, there was a reason for you to actually enter the home. And our position has been from day one that once he cracked that door and said, "I'm fine, I don't want you to come in a calm state, that the case should have ended at that point.
And for folks who don't know, who was Kenneth Chamberlain, Sr.?
Kenneth Chamberlain, Sr. is a former Westchester County Correction Officer. He was a Marine, had served this country during Vietnam, father, son, brother. He was very much involved in his church. In fact, the night that he got shot and killed by the police, he had just left the church where he volunteered to clean the church up. So he was a person who wasn't a tremendously wealthy person. He lived in the Housing Authority in White Plains, but was a really caring person. Lots of people loved him and was really very much involved in his community.
From a practical standpoint, where does I know the civil case, where does it go from here? What's the timetable? How does it actually work?
Well, we anticipate there's going to be a motion made by the defense, motion for summary judgment, which we will respond to, and we are hopeful that there will be a decision that says the case moves forward, and then at that point either we'll have some discussions in terms of possible resolution outside of a trial, or we're prepared to go forward with a trial in the matter.
How long ago, when did he die?
He died in November of 2011.
And that was one of the things, it's just for people, we always wonder how the wheels of justice, right, wrong, and different, but how 4 years later, people are still
if any
back in
case
the
would
same place.
call for an early settlement, it would sound like this one.
Yep.
Meanwhile, when the press is all over the one in Baltimore, so that settles 5 minutes flat. So go think
I
about
want to get to a story also in our region, this in the Hasidic village of Kiryas Joel in Orange County. This is a really heated meeting last night at the town board. It allowed to annex 164 acres of land. Village leaders angry because they wanted to expand by 500 acres. Now, the Orange County exec also upset because he's against any expansion here. There's so much fighting over this, from everything from religion to preferential treatment or allegations thereof. And you have one population that's expanding at a rapid rate. On the other hand, people feel that they're getting preferential treatment. This isn't just Kiryas Joel. I mean, we've done a lot, obviously, with East Orange as it relates to the school system. This stuff is getting contentious.
Well, it's population warfare. You gotta have room to spread out when you're having 5 or 6 or 7 kids. And I can save this. You can't fence them in. Don't fence me in. So more and more land. I can't really imagine the rationale for it other than that, because what would be in the interest of the greater community? Do they contribute to the tax base of the larger community? It's
I
a
don't
very
understand.
insular society.
They simply got to expand their town?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
The village
And who
area.
they get the land from?
From
The
town.
county.
The
The
town
county
itself.
okayed it, and the town in the end said,
You
yes,
know
you
what?
can have more
Instead
properties.
of probing the Port Authority, you might want to take a good look at what's going on up
But wait a
there.
minute, though. Didn't somebody lose land?
No, they annexed the land,
This
and
was
they,
green space,
I guess
open
they
space.
condemned it.
In the end, what people don't remember is this was really created in the early 70s. And it was a small community that was coming up from the city, established, and then it has, as Mark has said, has exploded
enclave.
here. And it's an enclave. And because, as we've seen, of heightened tensions because of the insular nature of it, there's an involvement on school boards where the dollars get appropriated, and then obviously the feelings of inequity as to who gets what and who doesn't get it, and the population that obviously votes as voting blocks even, which influence elections going forward. You have a
I don't
whole
know what-
volatile mix here as
I don't
this
know
whole
what
plays
could
out.
be the interest of the non-Curios Joel people in Monroe County, how this deal could possibly be in their interest. I don't understand
No,
that.
and this is going to turn out. But my point is, when people hear these things and there's not a full-throated discussion, there's not an education going on beforehand.
reason why there's
things
not a
get
full-throated
very
discussion.
ugly. Yes, and they don't go away. And if anybody needs to in Rockland, just look what's going on in East Orange right now. These problems don't resolve themselves here. The state has to have a role in this instead of just localizing it, because there's political ramifications for folks who won't cross the lines, if you will. Gentlemen, as always, thank you very much, and we'll obviously continue to follow the Chamberlain case. Thank you, Mayo. All right, everybody, we got headlines coming up straight ahead. I'll see you on the other side of the break.